this episode, we will discuss the millennial crisis at hand. Millennials are in worse financial shape than every living generation ahead of them. And we're here to offer advice and strategies to lift them out of the trap that society has put them in. If you are a millennial or a parent of a millennial, you'll really want to pay attention to this. She's Holly, and she helps people find financial freedom.
He's Nate. He makes sense out of money. This is Dollars and Nonsense. If you follow the herd, you will be slaughtered.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the show today. We actually got an article we saw from the Wall Street Journal that talked about how millennials are in worse financial shape than every generation ahead of them, at least it's the living generation. So we're here to try to figure out why that is, and because I think we can learn a lesson about that no matter who we are, and then how we can get you out of that trap. So Holly, what are some of the reasons why millennials are in such a rough shape right now?
Well, according to the article, one of the reasons is bad luck, but I wouldn't so much say it's bad luck as much as it is the fact that basically they are a generation that have spent more money going to school. But by doing that, then they've increased their debt without ever producing any income yet. And I say hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. According to the article, most millennials are at least twice as much in debt out of school as anybody in like Generation X. So my generation. So they're going to school, but they're not getting a job that's yielding that money to pay that student debt.
Yeah, the amount of income they're making from those jobs is not twice as much. We've already got a headwind from student debt. I feel like the goal is no longer to build wealth in the first place, no matter what the headwinds are from student loans, or they were talking about millennials getting jobs in the financial crisis time. They were graduating high school, they were graduating college in that time frame, and it's hard to find work there. And that's true. So they started in this rough spot. The joke is that we still live in our parents' basements, which is not really true, but we like to be free, I feel like.
I think one of the things even the article though even points out to an extent is there's not an urge to save. There's not an urge to buy property, to put roots down, to establish yourself somewhere. Even in the job market, they say millennials are more likely to leave a job within 5 years. I mean, if you've got a millennial that stayed 5 years, you're doing really well versus somebody that's, hey, I've been there a couple of years. I mean, I was talking to a client the other day who left his job in February. He's already had 2 jobs since then, and he was calling to talk to me about the fact that he knows the job he's in right now is not long-term. And he wanted to know what he could do to maybe figure out a long-term career or path, but that this job is just a passover. In fact, that's what he called. This is just a holding place until I find something else I want to do or where I want to go. I mean, I talk to a lot of young people that are 30s or right after out of college, and they just, hey, I want to go explore the world. Like you said, I want to travel, or I don't really care where I want to live. I just want to work for a period of time. And then they don't save any of that money. And then I want to go spend like 6 months in Thailand, or I'm in Southern California, so they like to surf a lot. So I have a lot of millennials that I know that it's all about what job can I do where I can still surf every day and still kind of make a decent living. I don't really care if I'm living in a trailer home or renting a place, as long as I've got my board and I've got a good surf.
Yeah, exactly right. So, I mean, I think part of the issue is that it's just not a priority. I feel like sometimes these articles are annoying because they kind of want to preach at you to some degree. Like they want to say that it's everyone else's fault that millennials don't have as much money. There could be some headwinds out there that's creating that, and I think there is. But I think a lot of it is just a choice too. Some of it is I'd rather travel, I'd rather serve, I'd rather do this. And I'm not even saying those things are bad things. I guess one thing that we'd like to do today is just share some advice on how you can continue to live a lifestyle that you really want to live, but still build wealth and have some sort of structure to it and have some systems to it, instead of just doing whenever you want type of thing and hoping that it works out. So, I mean, there's definitely some issues with the headwinds. We talk about the student loans and everything, which makes it one of the first advice I could give is don't go to college and get a degree where the job market sucks. If you go get an Etruscan pottery historical, I mean, maybe there's a job at some museum there, but well, at least if you want to get that, don't go to Harvard to get it or something. If you want to go to a smaller like state school or something like that, then we can. But I guess that's the first side is you're getting started with Millennial. If you're a parent or if you're a millennial right now and you're listening to this, I would suggest if you're going to college, get a degree in something that actually is valuable to society, that people are willing to trade you money because of how much value you can give them, because I learned how to do this. I learned how to do that.
I mean, even, and I'll say this, working with a family, like just starting out, and they're recognizing that she is a millennial and they know exactly how much it's going to cost her to go to school, roughly. Now, I wouldn't say she's doing the degree because she loves it as much as she knows she can get a job. She's good at numbers, but she likes the flexibility of when she'd be busy or when she wouldn't be and when she could have time off. But for them, it was, start saving this much money. And as a millennial still living at home, and she's travels a lot, right? It was, I've got to start saving some money. New concept. Mom and dad can't just keep affording to keep paying for everything. What we did is, and this was the beauty of it, I said, if you do nothing else, at least have her start saving that money into a policy, a life insurance policy, so that she can use that for living expenses to help pay for the education when she gets through school. Actually, the way we designed it, she actually has the money to start paying off that student debt and paying herself back, which we talk about. But you got to start talking to your kids, or in reality, start thinking about this money that's going to be spent. How am I going to pay it back? Versus if I get a job, and this is the reality, if I get a job and I'm a teller at the local bank with a college degree and I'm in debt $100 and some $1,000, is that job going to pay for that student loan debt? And are you going to get anywhere? The reality is no.
You got to take ownership too. Yeah, exactly right. You got to take ownership of your life. I feel like, as I was mentioning with these articles, they try to take the accountability away. Like, these are the reasons why they are in worse shape, because of all these external things. And as I was saying, I think there is some issues with that, but I do think that there's things you can do to help you get out of that. So one of those things, as we've been talking about, you'll hear us talk about a lot, is I think starting your first infinite banking policy as soon as possible instead of waiting. If you're a parent, starting one on your children. If you are a millennial yourself, getting started. Because I'd like to see if we could paint a picture for just what they can do with infinite banking policy that can help solve some of these issues. The fact that they don't own homes, the fact that they like to travel. But right now, the way you're traveling, you're probably not making a dime from it. If we can show you how to use a policy to do that, we can change the game to where you can build wealth and travel.
If you're not going to own a home because you either can't afford it or maybe you don't want to own a home, there's ways to use an infinite banking policy and pay for your rent and make some money. We can show you how to do that, but it starts strategically. Like Nate said, the one thing you guys cannot do is put your head in the sand and just let life keep passing you by and think that it's going to get better. Because the reality is, unless some things start changing, it's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse. I always say the buck stops with you. You're responsible for your life and accountable for your life. So start saving. If you want to travel and you know you want to travel, don't just get the credit card with zero balance and go charge it and then come back and be like, great, how am I going to pay for this? If you want to save the world, that's great. But there's a way to do it and be responsible even in doing that, instead of expecting everybody else to make a way for you or an excuse for why you have no money.
Have you ever wondered how to stop worrying and just make and keep more of your money? We believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in defying conventional wealth tools while maintaining traditional values. After all, most of those conventional tools only ever seem to make someone else on the inner circle rich. You can become debt-free, in control, secure, and achieve financial significance. Private family financing can be used in your life and even your business. Let us help set you free from worry. Visit livingwealth.com/freedom to receive your free copy of the Tree of Wealth. You'll learn about the tools banks themselves use and rarely speak about openly. These are the strategies used to launch Disney, JCPenney's, and countless successful families. For more than 46 years, Living Wealth has focused on treating clients with respect and honesty while helping them achieve financial freedom. Learn how to turn your hard work into significance. Visit livingwealth.com/freedom to instantly receive your free copy of the Tree of Wealth. You'll be enabled to have cash today and in the future. It's more than mere infinite banking. It's private family financing. Don't let banks and Wall Street dictate your financial future. Go to livingwealth.com/freedom to instantly receive your free copy of the Tree of Wealth. Now, back to Nate and Holly.
I love the millennial mindset as far as being free, being flexible. There's a lot of good things that go with it. There's financially, typically that's not always the best decision, but socially, relationally, experientially, it's probably great. But what I'm trying to get at here is one of the things I love about infinite banking and using a whole life insurance policy and the cash value therein to pay for your lifestyle, for what you're doing. It adds an element of structure. And actually, I feel like it almost adds confidence that you know what you can do. We're not just saying, hey, you guys need to scrimp and save every dime, put it together and save it for the future, for retirement or something like that. We also don't believe that. But how can you build wealth while doing those other things you love? So whenever we put money into the policy, we know that we can use it. And we know how we can pay ourselves back and reuse it again and continue to flow. And we can still build wealth the whole time, because when we take the money out of the policy and a loan, it doesn't actually affect the cash value. So what I'm saying when it adds structure or confidence is that, hey, I know I can afford to go on a trip. And I know how I can get the money back after going on that trip by paying myself back over the next 12 months. Then I know I can go again. And I know that in 10 years from now, this is what my cash value is going to be while I've been using it to go on these trips every year. So as a millennial, we encourage you to live life the way you want to live life. But if you add an element of structure, you know how much you can spend. I remember one time, I think it was my mom, she was saying how she bought a sweater and it was like, it was at a price that she felt guilty about. She said, I'm going to go return it. And I know them, and I know they don't really have a budget. They haven't created, here's how much I'm allowed to spend. When you don't create a budget, you never know how much you're allowed to spend. So there's no such thing as a too expensive sweater. Is it too expensive because you don't want to end up paying that much for it? And I guess what I'm trying to say is there too expensive a vacation? Well, no, it's only too expensive if you don't have a systematic way of recapturing it. So I guess that's what I would say is that one thing that infinite banking can do is it can actually free you to do the things you want and be confident about your future, because we know how to pay for things and how to get the money back. And we know where we're going to be when we do that 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road. And we're not locked in with like a retirement program where we're having to flesh money out and lock it up.
As much as he's saying it's structure, it brings such an out-of-box thinking. You're not actually in this structured arena of, I can only live here, I can only do this with my policy. With a retirement program, typically all you can do is this, save it, and you can take a little bit out, but you got to pay it back before you take any more out. If you don't want to pay a penalty, you got to wait to take it out, or you can take a loan out. But the reality of the policy is you have the ability to put your money in and use it for how you want to, whether it be, like Nate said, traveling, whether it be, I was talking to a millennial the other day, and no joke, he loves Clemson football. And I was telling him what he could do with this policy he's starting for these tickets that he wants to buy. And he was so excited to be able to actually use the money for something he loves to do, go to a football game, but how he could pay for those tickets and pay himself back for what it would cost to do that. So I think what I want you to hear here is that we really have an opportunity to teach you how money works, but how you can use your money for what you want to with a freedom that means it's still going to be there in the future.
And that's the beauty of it. That's why we love it. Honestly, I've had a lot of success with millennials just talking to them. I think they love infinite banking. I really do. To me, I think one of the reasons that they're not as financially successful is because they don't have anything to believe in as far as finance. I don't think they believe in the stock market. I talked to someone in their 20s. They don't like the stock market. They don't trust it. They don't trust the big banks. They don't trust Wall Street. And if you don't trust those types of, the 401k, the retirement program, they don't trust the government. They don't trust those systems. Probably more so than any generation before them, at least while they're building the wealth. And because of that, they're looking for a way. They're not putting a whole bunch of money away. I just think because they don't believe it. And if you can find something you believe in, I feel like you're going to be way more successful, which is why we talk about, or I've said before, invest in something that you like, that you want to learn about, that you're excited about instead of just going with her, because you're always going to do better when it's something you can believe in, regardless of the numbers behind it.
For those of you out there that have millennials or that you are a millennial, statistically, you don't trust banks. So you don't want to put your money in a bank. What we're really offering you is the opportunity to actually still keep control of your money instead of hiding it under the mattress or keeping your rainy day fund in a tin can in the freezer, wherever it is that you keep it. But the reality is, I mean, I've worked with numerous millennials. I actually like them because of their excitement for what they're able to do, whether it be one that, you know, teaches music and has her own business as a young millennial, to someone who's just starting out who knew college wasn't for them, but has this money that they're earning on a skill that is needed, a much needed skill set, you know, on a crafts trade that they're learning how to do. And they just didn't know what they could do with the money. The one individual, he knew he just didn't want to put it in a bank. Like that was his biggest concern. I don't want to take this money and put it in a bank. This allowed him the freedom to use his money and not actually have to just keep dumping money in the bank.
Exactly. And I think one of the things too is, as the article talks about, is the millennials are actually the highest educated generation we've seen yet. 4 out of 10 have a college degree.
Yes.
So I guess just a little side note, maybe consider the value of a college degree nowadays. You know, as you said, do you actually need a college degree to be a piano teacher? No, you have to know a skill.
Yep.
You don't have to have a college degree. You just have to have a skill. You have to understand music. You have to understand piano. You have to understand how to teach. And that's where I feel like the economy is actually moving in this new age, is less from the big company, climb the ladder, get the pension, which we all know that's dying to some degree, especially the pension side. The desire for the millennials that they have to have a lifestyle business, or to have financial freedom, or to not have to clock in, clock out, it's going to deflate really the necessity of the college degree. It's getting too expensive for what it's worth when you can go become a small business owner and an entrepreneur, doing things you love without having one. But that being said as well, one of the things that it mentions that was also scary and almost a side note was that as a generation, millennials are the only generation so far in America that have over 50%. They're more lenient. They like socialism more than capitalism.
Yes.
That terrifies me. That's the future. Oh my gosh. I mean, we talk about how infinite banking policies grow tax-free. We can utilize them, you know, limited government involvement, and how a lot of people may be getting themselves in over their head when they're doing 401ks and IRAs and they're taxed in the future. Read into the lines here. If the younger generation, which is going to become the majority before too long, actually prefers socialism to capitalism, what is going to happen to tax rates? We got to prepare for this. So if you are someone who has a lot of money in tax-deferred programs and you're listening to this podcast, now might be a good time to take a look. You can't wait too long, because who knows what the future is going to hold. You never know with these polls anyway. But as of right now, it says millennials are more favorable towards socialism than they are capitalism, which if that doesn't freak you out and want to get rid of the government programs that you've already got, I don't know what would, because that certainly terrifies me, and I don't even have any qualified programs.
And the other point that goes along with that freaked me out is that millennials are approaching middle age. They're asking for help from their employers.
Someone else is going to help me.
You help me do this. You help me do that. And I think that as soon as you put your financial well-being into somebody else's hands, other than your own, that you take on a sense of being very naive, of saying, well, as long as they take care of it for me, I'm good to go. Really, I'm just going to be honest and say, employers typically don't have your best interest at hand. They're in the business of making and generating money. And so it's for their company. Yes, they'd love to help you, but they're going to do anything that helps them as well, not so much just helping you on your goals of retirement planning or this or that. And I'm just going to say, look at the history of retirement planning and what's happening currently today. And that's generations that have put their hope mostly and majorly in employers' hands, believing that their best interest was saving. I mean, not only the socialism, but the capitalism. Like, if you want to go somewhere in this world, you guys have to know how to capitalize your own talents and gifts, and what are you going to do with your money? Don't let somebody else control your money, hoping that they're going to give it back to you, because it just means more taxes for you or anybody else.
Yeah, so just keep that in mind. If you're a millennial, you're part of this generation, whether you're conservative, whether you're liberal, whether you're socialist, whether you're capitalist, I don't care. But you at least have to be wise to understand that in certain scenarios, assets grow and certain they don't as much. So whether you want to be in the stock market as the baby boomers are retiring, as we're leaning more socialist, as the younger generations come up, what are we going to do with money? That's why we love infinite banking, how it's free contract with free people, the limited government involvement, very secure, usable, and we can use it to help you do the things that the article talks about that millennials are missing out on, whether you want to or not. But like things like buying a house, getting on the real estate ladder there, and owning a home can be something to win by. Paying off student debt. It's hard to pay off student debt if you're just funding 401ks the whole time. That's because all the money is locked up. If we use a policy, we can take it over and pay you back for the student loans and get all the money back, which I'd love to show you how to do that. So many things can happen that are ancillary benefits to infinite banking that we just don't even have time to talk about, but that we can do with the structure and the confidence it can provide. With that, anything else, Holly? Or?
No, I just really want to encourage you to hear Nate's heart here and my heart. I mean, Nate is a millennial. And so as a millennial, he understands exactly where you're at. And with that being, if you have millennials, please, please, please give them the opportunity to give them something else other than what's worked in the past. I think we've shown that traditional banking doesn't necessarily work, or traditional retirement programs or things like that. But as your millennial might be going off to school or graduating, give them the opportunity to be able to not send their money to somebody else.
I think millennial ends in early 20s now. Yeah, so
graduating really.
Yeah, they're pretty much graduated now. Yeah, so if you're listening to this, you probably already have a job if you're a millennial and doing things. But I guess if I have one last word and then we can be done is, as I mentioned before, find something you can believe in financially. You're going to be more successful if you like and you believe what you're doing. If you don't believe the stock market's going up, if you don't like the government qualified programs and the regulations they have there, if you don't trust it, then don't do it. Because if that's all you know, then you're not going to do as well as if you actually got control of the money and did things that you enjoy. Infinite banking, we find a lot of people enjoy it because of the freedom and the flexibility it can give, the control it can give. And so we encourage you to do that. I think it can help you get off the millennial pit that everyone tries to paint us in and move you up the ladder to where you can build wealth and still live the lifestyle you want. There's nothing else like it. If there was, we would tell you about it. But so far, infinite banking is the only thing we know of that allows us to use the money while it's growing and can do things with it that otherwise we wouldn't be able to. With that, we've run out of time. This has been Dollars and Nonsense. If you follow the herd, you will be slaughtered.
For free transcripts and resources, please visit livingwealth.com/E72.